Being genuinely confident is hard because it requires you to put yourself through discomfort time and time again. And there really is no other way around it. There's a saying, and it's that confidence comes from competence, which comes from accomplishments. And accomplishing your goals over and over again, it reinforces your belief in yourself. For example, when you prepare for a test, right, and you've studied all the material, you're super confident going into it. You're actually kind of excited. When you know you've been half-assing the assignment and you're not really studying, then of course you're not going to be confident. Like, think about this, right? Think about this. Hardly ever did you get an A on an exam and go, holy shit, how did this happen? It's because you either studied really hard or you're like me and you cheated on most of your exams, especially in high school. And hardly ever did you get a D or an F and be genuinely surprised by the result. Like, your confidence or lack thereof is almost directly correlated to what you've done or accomplished. And confidence as it pertains to your ability to move throughout life is really just your ability or capacity to truly be yourself. And you can't do this if you don't know yourself. You can't truly know yourself until you put yourself through discomfort just by doing things, by having experience. Like your morals, your values, your beliefs, your perspectives, your interests, your hobbies, your goals, your aspirations, etc. The more you do, the more you put yourself out there, the more confident you're going to be. And no one really wants to hear this because it's not an attractive solution. Like, most people want to shop and buy new clothes and buy some Jordans and find magic pickup lines or post Instagram pictures and get some likes to be confident. Not going out of your comfort zone. For example, right, since you guys like hearing about dating and love, let's take talking to girls as an example, right? Approaching girls is always going to be intimidating, right? Especially the more attractive she is. But do you think on the 50th time you approach a girl, you're going to be just as nervous as you were that first time? No, of course not. And the same applies to everything. There's actually absolutely nothing in the world that makes you the same level of nervousness, fear, or anxiety you do the first time compared to the 50th time or 100th. And that's because fear comes from the unknown, right? The more you do something, the more you know what to expect. And again, this applies to everything. I used to be a nice guy. I used to be a simp, and I wasn't too confident. I mentioned that more than a few times, but I've gone through the entire spectrum a guy can go through as it pertains to experience with girls. And I remember in my first year of college, I struggled with approaching this one girl in class. She was beautiful, and I had like 3 classes with her. And I met her during the orientation. She was tall, 5'7", 5'8", tan, long, wavy black hair, Hispanic. I don't know what it is, but I've always had an affinity with Hispanic and Latina girls. And eventually I did approach her, but it was so hard to get to that point because I felt paralyzed, to be honest. I think it took like 2-3 months. It was like the end of the quarter. I remember I'd just be waiting after lectures and she'd walk by and I'd feel paralyzed. Like I physically couldn't move towards her. And I just couldn't do it because you go through all these scenarios in your head and you lose confidence because what you're doing is you're internalizing and putting your mind so far deep in all the scenarios that can happen, the unknown essentially. And funnily enough, I don't know if this was a coincidence, but I would sit at the exact same spot every single class. It was like the 3rd row from the top. I would sit all the way at the end to the left. And one day she sat in the seat next to mine. So the second from the last seat in the exact same row that I sat. And I never figured out if that was a coincidence or if she did that deliberately. But I did end up sitting next to her. We talked at the beginning of lecture, but I didn't say a word as soon as lecture started. It was so awkward. We were sitting next to each other, just like vigorously taking notes. And in my mind, I was like, yo, just say something. Like, ask her how her day is. Just say something. And I couldn't. And we just sat next to each other awkwardly. It's like this girl that I wanted to approach is sitting right next to me. And for some reason, I couldn't utter a single word. And even though it was during class, and I was like, oh, I don't want to bother her. I knew that was an excuse. And also, I'm pretty sure she wanted me to say something. Like, I don't know. I don't think it was a coincidence that she sat right there. But it's because I wasn't confident. I didn't know what to say. I was afraid of the unknown. And it's funny because I used to have the mentality of, oh, the worst they can do is say no. There's definitely a lot worse that can happen. Like, trust me, I've gone through my share of painful moments. But literally, because of that one class, that one interaction, the summer after, I went on as many dates with as many girls as I knew as possible. Because I was like, yo, there's no reason why I was that uncomfortable in that situation. It felt like we were reading each other's thoughts and thinking the exact same thing. But I just didn't say anything because I wasn't confident. So it forced me to be comfortable in a one-on-one environment with the pressure on. by going on as many dates as possible. And it's funny because I remember some of those girls, they were mutual friends, and they'd be confused as to why I asked them both on a date, because apparently girls talk about everything. They were confused thinking that I was hitting on the both of them, when in reality, I was just trying to get my reps in. And now going on dates, it's not that I don't get nervous, especially if I like her, but it's pretty easy now and you know exactly what to expect. It becomes almost routine. And I have a pretty good control and idea of how to keep a conversation going, and the topics in conversation become routine. And if she says something interesting to you, you go further into that. And if it comes to a dead end, then you have new questions in mind just because you've done it so many times. By the way, that's the key to keeping conversations going. Just ask questions with intent to listen, see what she expands upon, a topic that, you can dive deeper into. And when that comes to a dead end, you already have another question that's building in your head while she's talking about that topic. Or you can use that to parlay into talking about yourself by giving a story. Actually, I'll give you guys a quick example. I have a few travel stories in my head that I can go to at any time. Or if we're talking about hobbies, I can pull up stories from my hobbies like boxing. I can talk about how I got beat up, etc, etc. I'll do this thing where I'll ask her if she has plans on traveling, where she want to go to, where her favorite place she's been, and she'll go into that a little bit. And once that comes to a dead end for her, I can bring up my travel stories. And you can do this with almost any topic. Like, a part of being a good conversationalist, and literally no one says this, is actually having stories of your own and stories and experiences you can talk about and pull out whenever you want. And that's why it's important to do things and have experience. It gives you new things to talk about, and you can just drive the conversation in that direction if she doesn't have much to say. So yeah, that's just a little conversation tip for going on dates and keeping a conversation going. But yeah, the point is, I recognize where I was lacking in confidence, and I realized there's no magic pill to take. There's no easy one-size-fits-all answer. You just gotta throw yourself in discomfort. Like, that's the only way to obtaining true confidence. In whatever avenue of life you want to put yourself in, you just gotta throw yourself in that discomfort over and over again. And again, no one wants to hear it because it's not a quick fix, it's not an easy solution, it's not an attractive answer, but experience is the best teacher. Discomfort is the answer, and it goes for anything you want to do if you don't want to play it safe. If you're dissatisfied with not just your love life or dating or relationships or being single, but jobs, career, meeting new people, social life, friendships, the more you do, the more confident you become. It's that simple. Like, LeBron is confident driving to the hoop because he's done it so many times. Steph Curry is confident taking that three-pointer because he's done it so many times. The same applies to anything. Because the more you learn about yourself, the more you do, which enables you to fully be yourself, you can stand on your interests and your beliefs and the things you care about, and you're confident in who you are because of that. So when you gain that confidence, it becomes your ability to truly be yourself to the fullest extent. And if you stay in your shell your whole life, of course you're going to be insecure because you never gave yourself the opportunity to become confident. And the reality is that it's going to be uncomfortable. And the worst thing we can do, especially as a guy trying to be a man in the era of social media and technology, which has changed everything, is to stay in our comfort zone. And social media and technology has made that easier than ever because we can stay safely behind our screen to do everything essentially. You don't have to put yourself out there, both literally and figuratively. And because of that, you'll never gain true confidence. You can try to fake it and post pictures on social media and try to masquerade it, but you can't fool someone who's seen behind the veil. You gotta put yourself in discomfort over and over again. And it sucks sometimes, even for me, but we gotta constantly work on it. They're like blades that gotta constantly be sharpened. Once you fall out and lose momentum, it's hard to get it back. And that's why you gotta have a growth mindset of constantly becoming better, because if you stop doing something, it's way harder to start up again as opposed to just keep going and maintaining all the way. That's why the hardest part of doing anything is starting, because it's full of the unknown. And it's actually only the unknown. It's why people procrastinate. It's why you want to do something and you just research it over and over again because it's analysis paralysis. You want to start going to the gym and you start looking at all the meal preps and workout routines and videos, etc., because you're scared of the unknown and you want to know as much as you can to make yourself comfortable. And that's human nature, right? Or for example, you want to start making videos, but you're terrified of the unknown, and it's scary. I'm not gonna lie and say it isn't, but there's no getting around the fact that you just gotta jump in the water. Staring at the water isn't gonna make it any less cold to jump into. As a matter of fact, it's only gonna get colder the longer you wait. And something that helped me throw myself in discomfort is realizing that nothing really matters. Whether that's opinions, other people, because that's what it really is, to be honest. Discomfort to starting something almost always has to do with other people and opinions. When you internalize and understand that this doesn't matter, and for me it's God, right? Like, my belief in God makes me realize how insignificant some things are that we worry about, like other people's opinions. And for you, it might be something else, but the key is to find that thing that helps you internalize what really matters and what really doesn't. And it's kind of morbid, but I always think about on my deathbed, like, what am I going to wish I've done more? What's really going to matter when you're at that point? And I guess for some people, it can simply be a matter of perspective. But the answer to true, genuine confidence is discomfort. It's the only way. Anyways, this was a pretty good yap session. I thought I gave some decent points. I like this one. I hope you're doing well. I really do. And I really hope you go as far as possible. It's what I'm trying to do. And as easy as it is to stay in your comfort zone nowadays, especially because we can have everything we want at our fingertips behind our screen. Even food. When we're hungry, we can magically press a few buttons and it'll show up at our door. Convenience has made us really comfortable, and this can be dangerous. And we got to be careful not to get caught in that trap. Anyways, thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. And with that said, make sure you stay true. I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.